Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Mehta, CEO of Gainsight, and I want to welcome you back to Net Retention TV, where we talk with customer success executives, CEOs, and other business leaders about what they're doing to maximize net retention in their business. Super excited to, on this Monday, be able to welcome a discussion around how customer success and community fit really tightly together. So I want to welcome Eran Aloni. Eran is the Chief Customer Officer at a little company called Gong. I hope most of you know Gong. If you don't know Gong, you need to try out Gong. It's an amazing product. We use it at Gainsight. I personally use it every single day. It lets you understand the voice of your customers in sales and customer conversations, as well as get much more intelligence about your revenue and your business. I'm sure Ron will do a better job of describing it, but I love Gong myself. And then Robin van Lieshout, who is the founder and CEO of Untitled. In case you missed the news a couple weeks ago, we at Gainsight are incredibly fortunate to have Untitled be part of Gainsight now. And it's a SaaS customer community platform that we'll talk a little bit more about. So welcome, Eran and Robin. How you guys doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nick and Robin. Excited to be here.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Good evening, guys.
All right. So you guys know we love starting everything we do with an icebreaker just to understand the human side of the people that we're getting to meet. So let's talk about both of you as human beings. We're going to talk about community, and we're going to talk about like community software and online communities. But community means something broader to all of us, right? All of us hopefully feel like we're part of one or multiple communities. So Ron, when you hear the word community, what community are you part of?
Well, to me, first of all, community is about either a connection to other people and about my own growth. So those are kind of the two communities that I engage with. So first, as you know, a formerly Israeli living here in the Bay Area, a big part of my community is like the Israeli and the Jewish community here. And also on the professional side, always trying to connect with other people in similar roles and learn from their experience. Like the Pulse CXO one is amazing. I love the fact that you just ask questions and get like really great answers from other people and connect to them as well.
Love that. So you didn't mention guitar aficionado community. I guess that's another community you're part of as well, right?
That's an aspirational one, I think. If I was any good, then maybe.
One day. Okay, Robin, how about you? Community, you're very passionate about it. What does it mean to you, and what community are you part of?
Yeah, of course. I mean, being a CEO founder of a company who's actually building communities, right? I would consider, community as one of my, personal values. And basically it started when I was a little kid, actually. I was a super shy boy, and in the early days of the internet, I decided to join some online groups and really felt that sense of belonging, joining those groups. So, I took that experience and started building my own communities, basically. And that, eventually led to me starting a company to help, bigger brands set up their own community and create that sense of belonging, basically, among their end users. So, you could consider me a community freak.
I love that. And that's a good setup, I think, to the next question I want to ask both of you, which is, I'll start with Robin. Just the career journey of kind of you started with this being part of communities, and obviously now you are powering communities. Talk about the story of getting Untitled started.
Yeah, I mean, me being part of communities and customer success has been a long journey. I mean, there are so many answers here, but let me give you one. I mean, as a technology company, I mean, you've probably all been there, but selling to the wrong customers is a big thing, right? You shouldn't do that, and no adoption, no fit. There's no basically no long-term match with those customers. So we made that mistake at Untitled. So we sold like millions of ARR, basically, which all churned later. So that experience basically inspired me, to take customer success, way more seriously than I did, and I, combined that with my growing of Untitled and building out customers and communities for these bigger brands. So that's how I got into customer success a little bit more.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting how sometimes we learn from things that don't go right. All of us have had those stories, I think. So Ron, love to hear a little bit about your career story and how you got into customer success and how that ended up leading you to Gong.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in my career, I was really more of an engineering and product leader, and over time got more and more into engaging with customers in a deeper way. And I find always kind of got attracted to that, and in some ways it connects all the dots or all the skills that I've accumulated throughout my career. I see customer success kind of connecting, providing value to customers, which is really what product teams are trying to do, but also connecting the revenue side of the business and the operational side of the business. So I love that connection, and as Gong grew, this is really what I've started focusing on, and I've been loving it ever since.
Love that. So for the 3 people watching who don't know who Gong is, I tried my description. You can tell me how good of a description I gave, and maybe you can give a better one. So
first of all, I always believe that if a customer is telling us what we're doing, it's probably a lot more accurate than whatever we would be able to do. So I think you did a great job. But basically what we provide is we bring reality into your business, right? I think a lot of businesses struggle with actually knowing what's happening out there.
Totally.
And rely on opinions and what they hear from their sales teams or customer success teams. And we bring that reality by capturing all of the interactions that you have with your customers, analyzing it, using data to really let you know what can you do better as a business. But Nick, I would just copyright your description. And I always feel like when a customer says what value they're getting from the platform, it's probably the best estimate of what it actually does.
My experience of Gong is that some people, when they're working in the evening, they listen to Spotify playlists. I listen to Gong calls while I'm working. So I definitely am a very passionate user. So let's talk about customer success at Gong. You guys are used by CS teams, but you also have this incredible customer success and post-sales team. To talk about the structure and kind of what your charter is.
Yeah, so my team basically handles all of our post-sales motion. So that includes customer success, support, services, training and education, community, our operations to all of that part of the business. So anything that interacts with the customer after they join Gong. And within the customer success team, we have different segments based on the customer size, basically aligning our customer journey to the customer needs. So anywhere from commercial to strategic accounts is how we divide the business.
That's great. So kind of a classic chief customer officer, post-sales ownership role. And so, let's talk about how community showed up as part of your charter and as part of your strategy. So what was the reason you decided to launch an online community? How did you decide to structure the team? And how do you measure the success?
Yeah. So as Robin mentioned earlier, we've been talking to community vendors and to Robin for a while. For us, we're building a new industry and a new category. And a lot of the feedback we're getting from our customers is that they would like to learn more from other customers. They would like to connect to other customers. Every event that we had with the customer event was a huge success. So we knew that there's a lot of passion within our customer base to connect to other customers and keep learning, from other customers' experience. So this was something that was on top of my list for probably 3 years now. It took us a little bit longer to get there. In some ways, I'm actually happy that we waited a little bit. So our customer base was larger, and I think we were more mature when we actually started implementing it, and I think we did a really great job. We basically launched a community earlier this year after a long journey of learning from vendors and from other customers. Nisha Bakshi is leading our community team and is doing an amazing job. And the role of the community for us is really to connect customers to each other, to make sure that they learn not just from us, but from each other, share their stories, share their best practices. And we really focus on that learning experience and on the one-to-one connection experience between executives and leaders from our customer base.
Love that. That's awesome. Robin, you get to see the lens more broadly about, why companies create community, who drives it inside a business, how they measure success. Share your perspective.
Yeah, 100%. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why companies start communities, but we typically see a couple. First is really creating that self-service motion, right? I mean, we all have loads and loads of customers which we cannot always serve using a white glove, high touch service. So you need to have digital channels, automation, and digital-led tactics basically, and a community can play a really, really good part of that. So that's one. The other thing, what we see is that, just pure engagement, right? And maybe just like Eran says, customers want to connect with each other, right? They want to learn from others. They want to see, use case and best practices from others. And I know you guys have raving fans. Creating raving fans is one of your core values at Gong, right? So I think, just offering those fans a platform, right, to share those experiences, I think that's super valuable. So that's the second. And then maybe to add the third one is all about, product feedback and ideation, right? Really, creating that centralized place where customers can go to, they can, submit their feature requests, they can participate in beta groups. And then also the Gong team, your team has been active, like I think almost on a weekly basis, reviewing all the feature requests basically that have come in through the community. And I think it's a great way to be really close to customers.
Yeah, that's, one thing, Robin, that, sometimes you see is the chief customer officer could drive this versus marketing versus support. How is that shifting over time for community?
Yeah, I think traditionally communities have been really seen as a standalone support channel, right? More as a break fix type of platform, right? You go there, you submit your question, and then somebody else answers it, mainly from a support perspective. I think over the last 2 or 3 years, it's evolved to something way much broader. So with that, we also see that the ownership shifted quite a lot. So we see, I think, about 60-70% of our customers. The community is actually as part of the chief customer officer or the customer success org, basically. Then there's a small piece of customer marketing, right? If they are really in charge of the customer relationship and they have maybe NRR as an overall goal, then customer marketing chimes in. And then there's a small part of our customers who have the product, basically the product org as the owner. Yeah,
that makes sense. Eran, talk a little bit about what the synergy is between your CSM org and community. Do they work together? Are there ways you're driving people to the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the things that we wanted to do, and actually one of the things that caused us to wait a little bit before we launch it, is we wanted to make sure that we're not creating a community that is not really well ingrained into the customer journey and that not everyone is bought in. The last thing that you want is launch a community and then not get the traction that you're hoping for, because you burn bridges sometimes with other stakeholders. So yeah, it's very tightly connected. Every onboarding session, a lot of our content, we send people to the community, make them educated about it. It's actually very easy to access it from our product as well, which is another thing that was really important for us, to have that single sign-on experience, so it's not a disconnected experience. And our CSMs are very active in the community, both contributing from their own knowledge, or if we see that a customer is asking a question, if maybe other customers have not yet answered it, then we have our team engage in the community as well. So it's actually very well integrated, and the team is really excited about this, and so are our customers, and that creates kind of a very strong forward momentum for more investment and more engagement.
I love that. It fits with what Robin was saying too, I think, which is community not just being a silo for deflecting support tickets, but truly being part of the customer journey. So speaking of that, you talked about how your team's engaged in community, and obviously you control all the post-sales parts of the business. Does community affect sales or product or marketing, other parts of Gong?
Yeah, definitely. So as Robin mentioned, one use case is customers now have a place that is more centralized to see product ideas, submit product ideas, vote for product ideas. So that's definitely something that we're doing. And the marketing team is engaged there as well. Like, we just launched our Raving Fans Club as part of the community. So a way for advocates or people who are actively want to take a role in promoting or sharing their experience, they have a place to do that as well. So it really did become like a central place for us to get engage with our customers beyond the usual channels, which is emails, hopping on a call, and other ways to do that as well.
Love that. That's great.
I think also maybe to the ownership question. I mean, everybody's talking about, hey, who owns the community, right? But I think that's only one part of the answer, because in the end, it takes a village, to build a community. So it's not only the customer success team, for example, who's going to participate, in the community, right? You really need to see if all customer-facing teams in the end, try to contribute to this overall customer community. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a way to bring the whole company together around your customers. So great point, Robin. So Eran, when we were talking to Robin and the team at Untitled, I remember seeing the logo slide of Untitled's customers, and I was like, wow, they have Gong as a customer. And we, as you know, we're very fortunate to work with Gong on the CS side as well. When you heard the announcement about Gainsight and Untitled coming together, what was your reaction?
I loved it, and to be completely honest, the reason that we chose Untitled was because they had this strong vision of creating a community for customers, not just a general community that can be tweaked for a customer use case. We love the integrations, we love the experience, and the vision there was really important to us because, as you know, customers, if you think about the different platforms that they integrate or that they experience, it could be a very disjointed experience that actually affects engagement and affects the ability to drive a great digital experience for your customers. So I love the fact that you're joined at the hip now, and as you know, we use both Gainsight and Untitled, and they both have been like really instrumental in scaling our success motion. So I'm really excited to see where it goes.
No, thanks for saying that. Well, maybe that'll be one of my last questions. So where it goes, we're actually going to do a separate deep dive brainstorming on where these things come together, but share some initial thoughts. Like, how would you like community platforms and customer success platforms to integrate more tightly together?
Well, I would love to provide our customers with a single experience. And I think the fact that there are multiple platforms, the customer doesn't care, right?
Yeah, right.
The customer needs like a way for them to go in and engage and learn and, have an opinion and, meet other customers. And we have multiple platforms that are part of that experience today. We would love to see really a tight, like an immersive experience that the customer, they don't need to think like, am I submitting a support ticket now, or searching the knowledge base, or discussing something, or going and taking a course. For them, it's actually an extension of our service and of our product. Like, they come to us not just because we have a great product and not just because we have a great team. It's the entire experience that matters, and we would like to tie the online, the offline experience in a way that is really seamless, and would love to work together with you to in order to get there.
I love that. Yeah, the community is basically part of the product, the product experience, right? So, Robin, we're going to spend a lot of time on this, but you want to give people a sneak peek of what you're thinking?
Definitely. I have the feeling in this call we can all sell each other's products because we're so aligned in the overall vision. So, I think Eran, you actually did a pretty good job in articulating, also our vision, how we look at it at Untitled. So, what we see is that most companies, have a pretty, disjointed customer experience post sales, right? I mean, maybe, you have like an old school forum, maybe there are some messages, flowing to, in-app systems, or, some of this goes through email or education portals, or maybe there's some old school knowledge base, but overall it's pretty disjointed, right? I think as a result, a lot of customers actually don't find, the content and engagement they need. So, speaking about community, that's of course what we do. I mean, community, as we alluded to in the beginning, means many things to many different people, right? I mean, community engagement and connecting each other is obviously the core of what we do. But I think, next step, as a next step, it goes way beyond that, right? So how we look at it at Untitled and our Gainsight is that, we see it more as a central place, as a customer hub where, end users go to. And on that central hub, you can find all the content and all the engagement basically you need in order to become super successful and really achieve your outcomes as a customer. So, it could be, related to self-service content. It could be joining events. It could be, connecting with peers or connecting with the product team to collaborate on roadmap issues. It could be, to align with your customer success manager on your success plans. It's basically that, that central place of belonging, that where everybody can come home basically. So I would say overall, as a next step, really integrate, the overall platform with, indeed your full experience with your customer success and product tools, because, nobody wants that disjointed customer experience, right?
That's exciting. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, and Eran, maybe I'll close out with this: the way you talk about Gong's vision of unlocking kind of the reality of your business, which is such a compelling way to talk about it. To me, that's we're really talking about unlocking the reality of what your customers are experiencing. Because as you said, Eran, so well, they don't care if it's a support ticket process or talking to a CSM or a product release feedback. Right now, we're giving customers too disjointed of an experience. And I think all three of us can help to change that. So, and all of you can change that as well. We'd love to get your feedback over LinkedIn or on Twitter about how customer success and community can come more closely together in the future. So I want to big thanks, Eran, for joining. Really appreciate your business and partnership. Robin, thanks as always. This was super fun. And we look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.